Now, let's talk a little bit about individual setup. Now, as you probably can tell, Brendan's setup is a little bit different than mine. He is not running a tape switch on his particular setup where I am. So why don't you talk a little bit about your setup first, please?
Yeah, so, coming from the time years after Ernie left the Marine Corps, right? There has to be light discipline. When I was in the Marine Corps, it's already at a peer-to-peer environment where the enemy has the capability to actually use night vision goggles as well. So it's highly critical to have like light discipline. And a lot of the PFCs and privates at the time would negligently discharge their weapon-mounted light when they would be using it like in like a shooting range. And so what would end up happening is they put the light on the other side so that when you're in your natural shooting position, you're just not even touching any of the pad. And when you need to activate the light, you're just moving your thumb a little bit to the left, right? It's effective. I think it's a cheaper option, right? Surefire Right's $300 minus the plus the pads, but it's a good option, especially if you're going if you're left-handed. If you're right-handed and you're using a lot of those IR illuminators and all that stuff, you don't get confused with your white light, which button you're pressing. And it's a training thing, but like I said, the Marine Corps pumps out so many people that it simplifies a lot of that. And I guess it carried over to me. I tried to use a pad for the longest time. It just wasn't comfortable for me. I would discharge it because the way I'm shooting the rifle, I would accidentally press it at night. So that's for me.
Well, the setup that I'm running, and I'm not that old, by the way, relative to Brendan. But actually, when I was serving, the weapon-mounted light was actually a newer thing on the rifles. Not all of us had weapon-mounted lights on our rifles, actually, and particularly, I did not have one on my setup. Wow. It just wasn't a thing then. But what we did have was IR, and the reason why I mentioned that is because we did have tape switches for the IR lights that we were running. We weren't running peer-to-peer as Brendan mentioned, and let me just break down what that means. Peer-to-peer means that your enemy has the same stuff that you do, same capabilities you do. When I was going through, our enemies at the time didn't necessarily have the same gear or capabilities we did. So we had essentially one up on them. The whole point on that one is that I am familiar and comfortable with using a tape switch on some of the gear that I have. Now, the setup that I'm running here is a Surefire Scout, and I have a tape switch on the opposing side. Now, a lot of folks will run a tape switch up top, and actually I do that too on a lot of my my rifles, but particularly with this one, because of the IR capabilities here, I have to offset it, canted about a 45-degree off to the side, and I rigged it that way on purpose because my support hand is on this side, being a left-handed shooter. But if I mounted the tape switch on top, my thumb would actually get in the way of the IR laser and it would defeat its capability. So I had to adjust the position of the tape switch and my manipulations with this so that way I can have or use both of the capabilities here. The other thing about this particular tape switch is that it has two buttons or two switches on it. The forward one is for the weapon mounted light over on this side. This one over here is for the IR laser. So in the heat of the moment, so to speak, I have the ability to choose which optic, or not optic, but which light that I want to actually turn on and off. So that's the reason for the two buttons there. And I do run a tape switch on all of my setups, just because that's something I'm accustomed to. So, but you can choose which setup that you prefer most. At the end of the day, it really doesn't matter. If it works, it works. And if you train to it and you can get it down to a suitable proficiency, then it doesn't matter. If it produces results, it doesn't matter. So those are just some things to think about with regards to, one, why a weapon-mounted light, two, which brands are out there that you can consider, and three, a couple things about your setup that you could think about and making it work for you. Enjoy the TRB brand? Well, come visit us on our online store where you can pick from an array of different TRB products, from hats, t-shirts, patches, to support our brand, but as well, different products that have been hand selected to really help and enhance your firearms training, from the Mantis X to our friends over at Night Vision Night Sights, our good friends over at AR Maglock Generation 4, Concealment Express, and our good friends over at Needling Gun Care for the best firearm cleaning kits out there. So come visit our store. We look forward to training with you.